Welcome! Today I'm going to show you how to make this cute set. It's the Seafoam hot pad or trivet and coaster. They both have these handy hanging loops that are optional.
In this pattern, this is the second project of the Magical Mystery Tour, and thanks for joining us. If you haven't already joined or subscribed, go ahead and click the link in the description that brings you to the place where you can sign up for the Magical Mystery Tour to get the email alerts for every week that we have a new project, a new free pattern and free tutorial that's coming out. And each week the pattern will highlight a new stitch or technique. And this week we're featuring the block stitch. And it's really cool, get this really cool effect when you work it with multiple colors. So let's go ahead and get started. For this project, I'm using Re-Up by Lion Brand. It's a 100% cotton number 4 weight, worsted weight yarn. And I'm using white, gray, sky, and aqua, which is really more like a lime green. You'll also need a pair of scissors, a yarn needle. The kind I use is Susan Bates. I love these. This is the smallest one small one. I'll have a link to this in the pattern. And then a crochet hook. For the hot pad, I used a 6.0 millimeter crochet hook, and for the coaster I use 5.5 millimeter. So let's take a look at how to make this now. So in the hot pad, I'm going to show you how the color order goes. We have 4 colors. The main color is white. Then the contrasting colors are gray, green, and blue. And you can see that the green repeats every other contrasting color line. So the way that goes is we have white is A, B is gray, C is green, and color D is blue. And the order goes white, then we have contrasting color gray, then we have white, contrasting color green, white, contrasting color blue, white, and you can see here's our contrasting color changes. And every other one is going to be green. So then we go to green. Then we go back to white. Time for contrasting color. It's going to be the next one, which is gray. And so on. So that the green is alternating every time you do a contrast color. And I'll have that clearly written in the instructions in the pattern. For the hot pad and the coaster, you're going to be starting with a chain of multiples of 3 plus 2 and then plus 9 for the loop, the hanging loop. So for the coaster, I'm going to start with 12. That's my multiple of 3 plus 2. And I am going to make a hanging loop on my coaster just so that I can show you how that works out when you make your hot pad. But you can leave these 9 chains out if you don't want to have a hanging loop on your coaster, which you probably don't need. But maybe you'd like to have it so that they all kind of match up if you're giving it as a gift or something. For the hot pad, we start with a 27. That's our multiple of 3. We start 27 plus 2 plus 9, and that equals 29 plus 9 is 38. And this is going to be 14 plus 9 is 23. So you're going to chain 23 for the coaster, and you're going to chain 38 for the hot pad. The colors for the hot pad, I'm going to make the main color green, and the next color is going to be gray, green, then white, green again, blue, and then green. So it's only going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 rows. So I'm going to demonstrate both the hot pad and the coaster by making a coaster right now. The process is exactly the same, it's just that the hot pad will be more chains to start out with, and the color scheme I will have in the written pattern, as well as I will put it in the description as well. So let's start. So I'm going to use a 5.5 millimeter hook for the coaster. I used a 6.0 millimeter for the hot pad, and it has a little bit of a looser feel. With the 5.5 it'll be a little bit tighter, so I'll show you both at the end and you can decide which way you want to go, but they shouldn't be too different. So we're going to start with a slip knot, and the way that you do that is you cross it over, make a loop. This is the tail end, and this is your working end that's connected to your ball of yarn. You're going to take that end, the working yarn is on top of the tail end, and then you take that working yarn and you pull it up through the loop and put it on your hook and just tighten it up. And we are going to chain. If you're making the hot pad, you're going to chain 38. If you're making the coaster with the loop, with the hanging loop, you're going to chain 23. If you're making the coaster without the hanging loop, you're going to chain just 14. So let's start. To make a chain, we yarn over and pull through the loop on our hook, and just keep doing that all the way until you have the number of chains that you need. Okay, so I'll meet you back here when we have the number of chains that we need for our starting chain. Okay, so I have 23 chains, and if you're making the coaster, you'll have 38 chains. And the instruction is the same for both. What we're going to do is we're going to count 10 chains down, and we're going to go into the 10th chain and do a slip stitch. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So I'm going to go into that chain, and I'm going to do a slip stitch, which is you just yarn over, pull through a loop, and then just pull that through the loop that's on your hook. Okay, so now in that same stitch, we are going to, first of all, we're going to chain 2, and throughout this pattern, the chain 2 does not count as a stitch. So in the same stitch, we're going to do our first double crochet. Let me show that to you again. So to do a double crochet, you yarn over, put it into the stitch, yarn over, pull through a loop, yarn over, pull through 2 loops, and then yarn over, pull through 2 loops. And then what we're going to do is we're just going to double crochet in each chain across. So let me just show you the next one. It doesn't matter which thread on the chain you go into, whether you go into just 1 thread or two threads, as long as you do the same thing with each stitch. So in my case, I'm just going into the top thread of the V on each of these chains. So I'm going to yarn over, go into that top thread of the V, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2 loops, yarn over, pull through 2 loops. Let's do one more. Here's our next V. I'm going to go into that top thread. So yarn over, go under that, yarn over again, pull through a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, and yarn over, pull through 2. And you're just going to do that all the way to the end of your chain. Okay, so I find it easy to understand patterns when I'm looking also at a chart. So I'm just going to show you a little diagram here. What we did was we started out with multiples of 3, chained, plus 2, 1, 2. So we have 3, 3, 3, 3, plus 2. And then we had 9, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And we did a slip stitch in the 10th chain from the hook. And then we did a chain 2, which doesn't count as a stitch. And then we did a double crochet in that same stitch. And then we do a double crochet in each of these stitches across. And you'll see in a minute why looking at the diagram, which will be in the written pattern, is helpful. So, okay, so this was our row 1, and this is where we finished up down here. So what we're going to do at this stage is we're just going to pull that loop so we don't lose it. And instead of adding our contrasting color down here, we're going to add our contrasting color at the beginning. And where it gets added is actually between the first and second double crochet. Remember, this chain 2 doesn't count as a stitch. So if you're looking at it here, here's our chain 2, here's our first double crochet, here's our second double crochet. So we're going to be adding the yarn right in there. And what we're going to do is when we add it in, we're going to do a chain 1, and we're going to do a single crochet right in between the first and second double crochets. Then we are going to chain 2, and then we are going to do, this kind of goes down like this to show that it goes between the 2. Then we're going to do a single crochet we're going to skip 3 double crochets, and we're going to do a single crochet in between the 3rd and the 4th double crochet. And we're going to continue like that all along. So we're going to do chain 2, single crochet, you skip 3 double crochets, you do a single crochet between that 3rd one and the next one, and so on, all the way across. And when we get here, we're just going to cut the yarn and leave a tail, maybe about 2 or 3 inches long. So let's go ahead and do that. Okay, so remember, don't cut your main color. Just leave that hanging on. Leave the loop long so that you don't lose that. Now we're going to add in our contrasting color. We're going to go with our hook in between the 1st and 2nd double crochet. We're going to put the yarn over the hook and pull it through. Take the while holding the tail and the working yarn, you're going to pull that tight to secure it in place. And now you're going to chain 1 and do a single crochet right into that space. And I just want to make sure that that loop's not too loose. And I'm going to have, I want this tail end to be hanging off the side. So when you're first doing it, it can feel a little fiddly, but just trust it. You'll get used to it. We're just going to do a single crochet right here, which is, let me show you that again. Just go into that space between the 1st and 2nd double crochet, yarn over, pull up 1 loop, yarn over, pull through those 2 loops. That's your single crochet. And I like to kind of just tighten it down so that it doesn't, the piece doesn't get too loose. And we chain 2, we skip 3 double crochets, 1, 2, 3, and then we do a single crochet in between the 3rd and 4th double crochet. Chain 2, count out 3 double crochets, 1, 2, 3, and then we're going to do our single crochet in here. And so on. So you're just going to do that all the way across till you get to the end. And we finish with a single crochet, pull it tight, and then just cut your tail around 3 inches. And then just pull that loop up so that, actually, sorry, don't pull that loop up. Pull your yarn through that loop so that you secure that off. Sorry about that. Wasn't thinking. Okay. Now you're ready to start on row 3. So normally with crochet charts, each row goes back and forth. But in this pattern, we do row 1 and row 2 in one direction, and then we do row 3 and row 4 in the next direction, and so on. So for row 3, we're actually going to be starting right down here with the loop that we left. Oops, wrong side. With the loop that we left when we finished the end of row 1. We'll just kind of tighten that up. And we're going to start with a chain 2. And we are going to do a double crochet in that same double crochet. And then what you're going to do is 3 double crochets into this chain 2 space. And you're just going to do that all the way across. So 3 double crochets into each chain 2 space. And then you're just going to finish with a double crochet you'll be coming across this way. You know, you'll turn your work at this stage. You'll be coming across and you'll just do a double crochet in this last double crochet here, which will be here on the end. So I'll show you that now. And by doing it this way, we won't have as many tails. We won't have as many tails. We'll only have contrasting color tails. So chain 2, 1, 2, and keeping your tail out to the side here, we are going to do a double crochet right into this first stitch here. And then into this chain 2 space, we're going to do 3 double crochets. So yarn over, go into that chain space, yarn over. Let me show you that again, sorry. So we yarn over, go into the chain 2 space, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. And we do 3 of those. Into each chain 2 space. So now we just go to the next chain 2 space and we do 3 double crochets in there. And so on. And then just go all the way to the end. And when you get to the end, you're going to do 1 double crochet in here. And I'll show you that when we get there. Alright, so I did my last 3 double crochets into this chain 2 space, and now I'm going to do my last double crochet right into this last double crochet. This is a chain 2 that we don't count as a stitch. So I'm going to yarn over, and there is the space that's underneath the V's, and go into that space, yarn over, pull through a loop, then yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, and that's our last double crochet of row 3. So now we're going to just pull that loop up so that we don't lose it, and like we did the last time, we're going to add our contrasting color right here between the first and the second double crochet. So I'll just show you that here on the chart. Again, we're going to come in here, add our yarn, we're going to do a chain 1, and we're going to do a single crochet in between the first and second double crochet. Let me just fix that. And then just like row 2, it's just basically another row 2. Chain 2, single crochet after you've skipped 3. And again, these single crochets are not into a stitch, they're in between these 2 stitches. Chain 2, single crochet, chain 2, single crochet, chain 2, single crochet, and then cut your yarn and pull the yarn through. So let's do that. So for my next color, I'm going to do white, and let's just show you this again. We've got our chain 2 here and our first double crochet. I'm going to go in between the first double crochet and the second. You know it's the right spot because it's right below where the last one was. Lay the yarn over your hook, pull it through, and then holding both of them, yarn over, pull through that loop, and then secure it down nice and tight. Now we're going to chain one and do a single crochet right into that spot. So just go in here, yarn over, pull up a loop, and yarn over, pull through two. That's our single crochet. And I just tighten that down. Now we're going to chain two and do a single crochet between, count out three, 1, 2, 3, between 3 and 4. Chain two, in between the third and the fourth, double crochet, chain two, and so on, all the way down to the end. Chain two, and this is our last one. I'm going to chain one. I'm going to cut the tail, cut the yarn, and just pull that through. Tighten that. And now we are ready to pick up for another row 1, which will actually be our, it'll be our row 5. So for row 5, we're just going to close up that loop that we had left open. We're going to chain two. So we're basically just going to repeat this row again. We're going to chain two, double crochet in that first same stitch, and 3 double crochets in each chain two space across. So chain two, 1, 2. Again, leaving that tail over to the side. I'm going to go into that first double crochet, that first stitch. Oops, this is supposed to be a double crochet. So yarn over, go into that stitch, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through two, yarn over, pull through two. And then I'm just going to do 3 double crochets in each chain two space across. Okay, so I just finished the last 3 double crochets into that chain two space, and now I'm going to come to this last double crochet. This was a chain two, so we're not going to go into that. We're going to go right into this stitch right here. I'm going to do a double crochet in there, yarn over, go into the stitch, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through two, yarn over, pull through two. And once more, pull up that loop and go ahead and you're going to now just repeat the same thing with your contrasting color. I'm going to switch to blue, and if you are doing the hot plate, and you want to do it exactly how I did mine, exactly how this looks, you're going to follow the contrasting color pattern that I have listed in the description below, and it's also listed in the written pattern. If you're making the coaster, you're just going to do blue, and then the next line will be green, and then I'll meet you back here when you have your next blue line and your next main color. I'm just going to show you an alternate way to add yarn. So again, we go in between the first and second double crochet. We're going to take our contrasting yarn, lay it on top of our hook, and pull it through. And instead of like we did before where we just locked it down with just the working yarn, you can lock it down with both strands, the working yarn and the tail at the same time. Oops, I don't want that to get too short. Yarn over, pull through that loop, and then what we're going to do is take the loop that's connected to the working yarn and just pull that through and just tighten that. And then just make sure that that's not covering up your first double crochet. Now we can, let's just tighten that a little bit more. Now we can do our chain 1 and our single crochet and chain 2, single crochet all the way across. So I'll meet you back here when you are on your last row, whether it's the coaster, and for the coaster the last row is going to be the next green row, will be the last row before we do the finishing. For the hot plate, it's going to end at, you're going to do a total of 19 rows. So this is row 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. And I'll have that listed in the description below, so if you need to reference that. But basically, the way that you'll know that you're done is your object will be a square. So that ends at row 19, and that's when we start our border. So I'll meet you back here when you do your last row of either the hot pad or the coaster. So I'm at the last stitch, the last double crochet of row, let's see, 1, 3, 5, 7, row 7, and just want to show you, sometimes you have to kind of stretch out that last double crochet to see it. And also I just want to say, keep this tail running out to the side, so just keep it in between your stitch so that it will be nicely out to the side. It'll be easier to get it kind of sewed in at the end. All right, so this is the end for the coaster, and if you're at the end of the coaster and the hot pad, I'm going to show you how to do the edging now. Just want to make a quick note that I do this a little differently than you may see in the books with the chain 2 and the double crochet. If you would prefer to just do like a chain 3 as your stitch here, you can do that. I like it. I think it looks a little neater to do it this way. It's just a personal preference. So again, over here you can do a chain 3 instead of the chain 2 plus the double crochet on each of these odd rows. That's just a personal preference choice that you can make. So we have these contrasting color tails sticking out, and if you're like me and like everybody, sewing them in is not usually a favorite thing to do. But the way that we're going to be finishing this, you won't have to worry about that, because we are going to crochet them underneath our work. So to start, what we're going to do is we're going to chain 1, turn our work, and we're going to single crochet in each stitch across. So starting with the first one, yarn over, pull through a loop, yarn over, pull through 2. So each stitch we go into that space underneath the V, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2. So just go ahead and single crochet like this all the way to the corner. I'll meet you at the corner. Okay, we're at the last 2 stitches. And here we have a chain 2 and a double crochet. So we're just going to do, we ignore this one, we're just going to do our last stitch in here. This is going to be our corner stitch, and at each corner you're going to do 3 single crochets into that same stitch. All right, so now we are on the side, and for each of these double crochets or double crochets plus a chain 2, we are going to do 3 single crochets into those. Now we have the first one from our corner stitch. That's our first one. So we're just going to go into, you can either go under the 2 of them, or you can go into one of the loops on that double crochet, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2. So that's 1, or actually that's actually 2, and that's 3, because the 3 that we did at the corner, the first one was the first 2 were, the first one was the single crochet that went with that double crochet. The second one was the corner, and the third one was the first of the 3 that are going to go into this side double crochet. So now here's another side double crochet, and we have one of our tails here. And we're going to work that underneath our work. So this way we won't even have to sew it in. So we go into wherever it looks right, yarn over, pull through a loop, yarn over, pull through 2. I'm going to go under, I'm just going to go right underneath that, keeping that tail right in line with that between my work. Yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, that's a single crochet, and then I'm going to do 1 more, and I'm just going to actually go into the threads on this double crochet, again keeping that thread lined up, and then you won't have to sew in those tails. If you don't want to do it that way, that's fine, you can sew in the tails later, but I like doing it this way. So that was 3, and now we're going to do 3 more in the next double crochet and chain 2. That's 1. Now I have 2 tails. I have the white and the blue, keeping them between my work. That's 2. And 3. 1, and we have another tail here. Let me just pull that stitch out, because we have a little, now you may run into this. This is a good example. This tail didn't get pulled all the way through, so I'm just going to thread it through so it'll be nice and neat. Just going to put it through here. Okay. And then this way, when I'm crocheting over these tails, the other side's going to look neat. So that's 1, 2, and 3. We're at a corner again, so we're going to do 3 into this corner. That's 1. This is 2. And this is 3. Now we're back to a side. This was our starting chain. So for each of these chains, we're just going to go into the other threads that we didn't go into already before and do single crochet in each one of those, keeping these tails in between our work, so they're basically getting threaded in. They're getting worked in. You might say, well, where do I go in? You can see where the first stitch went into that first thread. I only did it under one thread in the beginning. Those were our first double crochets. So in this case, I'm going to go under the other 2 threads. There's 1 and there's 2. And just do that all the way across. And then at some point, what you can do is we can cut these tails. Make sure you don't cut your working yarn. It's our working yarn. So I'm not going to cut them right there. What I'm going to do is I'm going to pull them out just a little bit, and then I'm going to cut them. And then when I loosen it back up, they're underneath. So then I'm just going to finish out this row, and since we're so close, I'm not going to stop the video because we're close to the loop. I'll show you what we're going to do there. So here's our first stitch. And now in the loop, we're going to do 10 single crochets all the way around that. So just go in here and do 10 of those. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Get some more yarn. 9, 10. And if you need, like I have a little extra space here, so I'm just going to do a couple extra. Depending on your yarn, you may only need to do 10. I ended up doing 12. So now we have this little opening here, so I want to close that up. So I'm just going to go into this side and also this side at the same time. I'm going to do a single crochet joining those 2 up. Pull that nice and tight. And now on this side, we're going to do the same thing that we did on the other side of, and again, I have a tail that's, you can see this tail didn't get underneath this stitch, so I'm just going to quickly put it under that stitch. Okay, so I'm going to put it right underneath here so that it comes out where it was supposed to come out. And we're at another edge of double crochet, so in each of these we're going to do 3 single crochets. This was actually our first one, and this one is okay, my video cut out on me there. Okay, so this one is a double crochet and a chain 2, so I'm going to be doing those 2 together. So I'm just going to go into that double crochet, around the chain 2, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2. That's my second double crochet, sorry, my second single crochet in that spot. I'm going to do 1 more. And now I'm at the next double crochet, and I'm going to start at this point getting this tail weaved in. So keeping that tail between my back working yarn and my loops in the front, form my single crochet. Second one, keeping that tail in between. 3. Again, I'm here at a place where I have a double crochet and a chain 2. You can see that. I'm going to work those 2 together. Just going to go into that. And now I've got 2 tails that I need to keep between my work. Yarn over, pull up a loop, single crochet. So that's 1. And 2. 3. That's the last one. 1. Now I have 3 tails that I'm keeping between my work. Single crochet and 1 more. Okay, we're at the corner where we started our edging, and I'm going to do 2 more because it's the corner. 2, and at this stage you can either sew these in some more underneath this edge here, or you can cut them. And if you would like, so here's our finished coaster. And if you would like, you can, you could do an additional round of single crochets if you want to, or otherwise you will be done. So I'm going to be done. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to do 1 more here. And then I'm going to do a slip stitch on here on this first one. This was our first single crochet. So doing a slip stitch there, I'm going to pull through my yarn and I'm going to cut it, pull that, and then that will just get sewn in. And these guys here in the back, you can continue to sew them in under here, or you can just cut them like we did on the other side. Just kind of pull them up just a little bit, cut them, and then loosen that back up. And then just sew this one in and you will be done. Okay, so there you have it. The Seafoam hot pad and coaster. And if you make a few of these, makes a nice little set and make a nice little gift for anyone special in your life. So I hope that you liked this pattern, and if you did, please go ahead and like this video. Also, maybe you'll consider sharing it with some of your friends who like to make crafts. And if you are not already signed up for the Magical Mystery Tour, this is our second pattern of the Magical Mystery Tour. It's a year-long program where I'm going to be sharing a new pattern with you each week. And it's going to be a free written pattern and a free video tutorial, just like today, where I walk you through it line by line. And each week we're going to be learning with these patterns. You're going to be learning a new stitch or technique. So what I think is really cool, the reason why I designed it like this is I love learning new ideas, and I always have all these little swatches of things that I make, different new stitches, and I thought, wouldn't it be nice if every time you learned a new stitch there was a pattern to go with it. So that's the idea of this Magical Mystery Tour. So the link for signing up is in the description below. If you haven't already signed up, go ahead and click on that link and put in your email to sign up, and you'll be subscribed to get all the alerts for the new patterns. So thank you again for watching. Hope you loved it. Please let me know your thoughts and comments in the comments below, and be sure to share your photos on Instagram with the hashtag LJDCMMT, which stands for Light and Joy Designs Crochet Magical Mystery Tour. And you can be entered for some of our giveaways, and each month we're going to be recognizing people who share all 4 of the monthly projects. So thanks again. See you soon.